Hello everyone and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take on the miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel, and also sometimes miniatures that don't have any games associated with them at all. That might actually be a first for the series, but we'll talk about that because it'll be the first miniature I cover today. Anyway, been painting up a bunch of stuff again, being quite focused on painting, managed to do the entirety of another kill team kind of by accident, just got stuck in and got them done, so that's going to take up the lion's share of what we talk about today. But we also have the Batman miniature game, Marvel Crisis Protocol, and as I say, no game found. It's just it's an anomaly, but we can talk about that first. As usual, largely painted with contrast paint. There are exceptions. I'll go through as much as I can remember. If you ever have any specific question, you can just let me know in the comments or in Discord or whatever, and I shall certainly do my best to answer them. So we have got to talk about this really cool Optimus Prime miniature, and I say miniature loosely because I was actually surprised at the scale of it. Obviously you can see it like compared to a Primaris Marine right here in terms of size. I'd compare it to like the old school dreadnoughts in terms of height almost, obviously not in terms of girth, but really cool, very nicely detailed, and it is a bit of an anomaly. From 2019, I believe it was, WizKids did what they called the Unpainted range, which were a series of miniatures of this size and quality, not just Transformers related I think, although there was a lot of them. You could Prime, Megatron, Starscream, Soundwave, and maybe others, I don't quite remember from what I've looked up. But it did this range and it called them, they were pre-primed miniatures, pre-assembled miniatures, just for presumably kids to paint. And I had an eye on them. They'd been out of stock for a long time, but my channel sponsor actually got this Optimus Prime back in stock, and I picked it up because I wanted to paint an actual legitimate Optimus Prime miniature rather than like I've done in the past. A long time ago I made a Bot War miniature look like Prime, and I'm even going further back to like 4th edition 40k. I painted a Tau Riptide to look like Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime is one of my childhood heroes. Him and Batman are my favourites. I have literally behind me here I have a comic signed by Peter Cullen and Frank Welker, and I like Prime a lot. I like what he stands for. Taught good moral lessons. Anyway, this miniature, I didn't trust it legitimately being unprimed, or being pre-primed rather, with paint, or for paint, so I did do a quick spray of Grey Seer just in case, because I wasn't sure how contrast paint would go along with it, just in case, and it helped it all entirely. I think the red parts are Bile Red. The blue parts, I started with the base of Ultramarine's blue. I did a dry brushing with Citadel's very light dry blue paint. I've forgotten what it's called. I might flash it up on screen here if I remember, or put it in the comments. And Lead Belcher Silver for the silver parts, Black Legion and Black Templar mix for the gun, with a little bit of silver on the edges, and silver again just for picking out his head and such. Frostheart for the windows and his eyes. The eyes didn't come out quite as bright as I wanted, but that's okay. And I think that's it in terms of colours, and then I used non-oil where appropriate. And yeah, I love the detail of the miniature. It looks nice, and oh yeah, sorry, the yellow parts are I used the not Yandin yellow, the other one, Iron Jaws yellow, I think. Not super happy with how that one turned out entirely. I used a little bit of an Army Painter yellow to try and improve it a little bit, and mixed results. I'd say that's the weakest part of it. But just in terms of how the miniature looks, I'm happy with how the paint job turned out. It looks great. If you want a comparison, actually, I have a very impressive Japanese figurine of Optimus here that actually does transform, but tries to authentically recreate exactly how he looked in the G1 cartoon from the 80s, which is of like my era. So loved it. Love this miniature. It's not usable in any kind of miniature game as far as I'm aware. It was just a range of like, here's some characters you recognize, presumably from Hasbro products, and colour them. And Hasbro, as far as I'm aware, are not interested in ever doing any kind of actual miniature game using like the Transformers license, although they did just do G.I. Joe. So maybe there will be a Transformers one eventually, but I do know the guy who makes Bot War, he originally wanted to do a Transformers miniature game and Hasbro wasn't interested, apparently. So who knows, that position, that was like a decade ago at this point, so it may have changed. Either way, this is just a really cool miniature. I'm interested in tracking down some of the other characters. I think my channel sponsor has RC in stock. Don't really care about her or Bumblebee, but if they could get Megatron, that'd be perfect, because I want them next to the signed comic behind me. that would be great, because I just have like toys like this right now just to put alongside that comic I've got. But either way, really cool miniature. I hope my paint job did it at least a little bit of justice. Also, it comes with this base. I didn't paint it or anything, I just glued it to it. Yeah, there we go. 2019 Hasbro. But yeah, it's part of the WizKids Unpainted range, and as far as I can tell, the website for them is now no longer working, but really cool. So after that, I now have two flavors of Joker for you. I have the 10th Anniversary Edition Joker for the Batman miniature game, and I have the 15th Anniversary Edition Joker for the Batman miniature game. This one, I picked up, I think I told the story actually in this last video. I picked it, oh no sorry, it was in the video I did about the Batman miniature game. Picked it up from a retailer in the UK that's selling off their Batman stock because it ain't shifting and the game seems to be dead. So I picked this up for, it was just under £8. This one I picked up as part of my last order I ever did with Night Models like a year and a bit ago now, for their like, not the most recent Black Friday but the one before that, when I just picked up stuff they were selling off. This goes along with that Batman that was doing the flying kick. And this Joker, unlike that Batman, isn't just a skin. So that's interesting, because that one came with a Batman that was a skin. This one got a stat card. This Joker is just what they called a skin. This is just for use of any Joker that would normally come on this size of base. It recreates the iconic moment from Death in the Family when Robin, Jason Todd Robin, gets beaten by Joker wielding a crowbar and gets left for dead in the warehouse that then explodes from the dynamite there. It was left up to fans at the time as to whether or not Jason would survive, and by a very slim margin they voted that he should die because Jason Todd annoys everyone because he was really annoying as Robin. So he died, and this just recreates that iconic moment and is just a skin, but also just kind of a display piece of a very iconic moment in Batman's history. This one is just a silly goofy Joker, we'll talk about it in a second. I used mostly the same colours for the Joker here, so let's cover that. I feel like this one turned out better. I'm not actually that happy with how I did on that one, but still, same yellow I was just talking about for all Robin's cape and such, and symbol. Bow red for the red parts. It is Mantis War green, striking Scorpion green for the various parts of his costume. That goes the same for Joker's hair. Luxian purple for his costume. I think I did a dry brushing with Gene Stealer purple because I wanted to make it a bit more subdued, because it isn't like his normal colour of purple, the suit he's wearing there, at least in the official paint job. Agros Dunes for the sand. I added blood for the Blood God to make it look like he's already worked Jason over a little bit. Bow red for the dynamite as well. Rattling Grime for the wood. Militarum green for some of the containers and such, just miscellaneous. And Black Legion for Joker's belt, boots, and Lead Belcher for anything metal, like such as the crowbar that is used to beat Jason to death. So very iconic moment. I kind of wish they did a few more of these like iconic moments, but like how tasteless do you want to be? Like, would they do one of these with like Joker shooting Barbara Gordon in the back in the Killing Joke? Would they do that? Or how about like Batman standing over his parents' corpses? How about that one? So, you know, it is, I guess it's, in a manner of speaking, it's a little tasteless on poor Jason here, but it's Jason Todd, so nobody cared. At least at the time. He was not a good Robin. I think people like him a lot better as Red Hood. But, you know, either way. Very iconic moment, very fun miniature, very challenging to paint for my skill level anyway. And I am happy with how it came out. Oh, I used neon oil in various places when I was done, as I often do. Pretty cool. Unlike this Joker, who I feel like, I didn't really get the effect I was looking for with him. Same colours, with the exception of Magmadroth Flame for the undershirt. He's just coming in with his leg up on one of his gas grenades, or gas missile, I guess, with a goofy face on it. And I don't know, I can't really say why it didn't turn out as nice. I just don't think it did, and it's also having trouble focusing on him, isn't it? He is in a very weird pose, so in this case I don't blame the camera. Like, it's not sure. Like, why is his leg up there? That doesn't look like a person. What am I supposed to focus on? So yeah, don't have much to say about this guy. It's just another Joker. He's in a very weird pose. At least he has a unique stat card and a unique way of playing that I'll probably never try, really. Although if the Batman miniature game does finally officially die, and it's like trying to claw itself out of its coffin at the present, I think, but Night Model certainly isn't helping matters. If it does die fully, I think what I'd probably do if I ever get the itch to try it is just do the old version of 3rd edition, you know, just the 20 card objective decks that I still have and can use, with new stat cards where I can from like, well, assuming the app even stays up, it probably wouldn't. But in terms of like them making the game impossible to play by making it 30 card objective decks and not releasing 30 card objective decks and updated cards, being like, oh, you can just use the app, what are you complaining about? When the app can't track your objective card hand during a game, just killed it dead. And it's their own fault. But anyway, we don't need to talk about that, I did a separate video. So yeah, 2 Jokers done. From that old Black Friday order, I've still got the entirety of the Royal Flush Gang and the Harley with their hyenas and Bane Commander, the Commander version of Bane. I think that's it. I'm not even sure I'll end up doing the Royal Flush Gang, although they are technically one of the ones that did ship with a 30 card objective deck, because they actually shipped with a 52 card objective deck because of the way their mechanics work. So they and Scarecrow are the only ones that are usable with cards officially printed and sold by 9 Models, which is very stupid. But anyway, let's move on. It is time to talk about the entirety of the other half of the Kill Team starter box for the new edition of Kill Team. The other half previously being the Plague Marine Kill Team that I talked about. I ended up finishing in one go as well. Well, not literally one go, but covered it all in one video. I did the same for the Ultramarine half. It's been a while since I painted an Ultramarine. They're my chapter of choice. I have previously already painted up some Space Marines for Kill Team, but just for a change of pace I decided to paint them up like the ones from Dawn of War. So it has been a while, and back when contrast paint first came out, I obviously tried out using Ultramarine contrast paint, that blue, and it's one of the more disappointing ones. It's very blotchy, it tends to separate a lot, it doesn't mix well, and it often is a bit darker than I would like. And you might even be looking at these and thinking, well, they're a bit darker blue than they should be as well. And I'd used a different technique for these ones. First of all, they come in a very bright blue. That's the blue they come in right there. And I guess I'll show them off as I talk through the process, because as I say, I painted them all in the same. I did use contrast paint, but no contrast paints were blue. So I started by spray painting them all, but I didn't use Grey Seer. I spray painted them all with the McCrag Blue spray paint, I think it is, that Citadel does, just their bog standard blue spray paint. I had a can of it sitting, and I thought, you know what, since it worked well for the Plague Marines, that's the base I'm going to use to work on these, just to see how it goes. So I did that, and then across all of them I did a pretty heavy dry brushing of the same light blue dry brush technical paint Citadel do that I talked about for Prime there. Applied that quite thickly. In hindsight, I actually would have applied it even thicker based on it kind of getting dulled down by further steps I did. But I did that to try and add some, just light and shadow and such, or accentuate the shadows by lightening up the edges. As I say, wish I'd done it a bit stronger across all of them, but that's what I did. Then I used just a pot of Grey Seer to pick out what would not be blue, so like their holsters, their shoulder pad trims, their icons on their chests, their eyes on their visors, their purity seals, that kind of thing. I used Nazdrag Yellow on all the parts that are to be golden. Usually I would just use a Citadel golden paint, like Balthazar Gold is my go-to. I never really liked how that looked, and I don't like how Gehenna Gold looks either, which is the other Citadel golden paint. So I settled for Nazdrag Yellow, just because, hey, I've never done it before, and this is a good chance to experiment since it's been literally years since I painted an Ultramarine. So I did that. I wouldn't say I'm super happy with it, but that's mostly down to my inability to have a super steady hand to make the shoulder pad trims look nice, more so than the paint itself being to blame in that instance. I used Snakebite Leather for the holsters where appropriate. I was trying to match up the official paint jobs. So some of their holsters are brown, but for people like, for instance, the Eliminator Sniper here, he's more stealthy, so he's got like black pouches everywhere. So again, just trying to match up where possible. For his cape, I used Basilicanum Grey, went over it with Storm Vermin Fur, and added blotches again over that with more Basilicanum Grey and a little bit of Dry Stone, which hasn't really come out as much as I would have liked, but hey. Black Legion for stuff like the guns as well. I did them all just in black and then picked out bits with Lead Belcher Silver afterwards to get those done. The smoke here is just the Grey Seer with Soul Blight on top, and then I also used non-oil over all of them to add a bit more definition, which obviously does bring down all the colour. That's why I wished that I made the dry brushing even thicker. I was worried about it being too heavy of a dry brush. Hindsight, if I was doing it again, and I may actually, because I've still got unpainted Marines I could certainly use to make, like, I still want to do a Phobos kill team in Ultramarine colours, I think, because I've done one in the Dawn of War colours. I keep blanking on the Dawn of War Space Marine chat. Blood Ravens, there we go. I did a Phobos kill team in the Blooded Ravens colours, but I haven't done one in Ultramarine colours yet. So I might end up doing that, or I might just pick a random chapter just for something different. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. But were I to do more Ultramarines, I would certainly be a lot more aggressive with that light blue dry brushing. And the reason for that is just because of my process, because eventually I know I'm coating the whole thing in pretty liberal amounts of non-oil to hide all my mistakes. That really brings down all the colour. It adds a very gritty war effect, which I don't deny that I like, but I feel like just if the edges were just a little bit brighter, I feel like that would make it look better. I actually think I did a better job of applying it quite thickly to Prime's legs. Like, you can actually really tell that, like, the edges are lighter. So I think I did a better job there, and I wish I had done it about the same for these guys. I can't remember if I mentioned already, but the base is Agros Dunes with Basilicanum Grey for the stones, and I used Balthazar Gold to pick out the shell casings. I probably should have used Bronze Scorpion, but honestly, once you put the non-oil on, they kind of look the same on little things. So, yeah. And other than like picking out like little things on their wrists, some of them have open comm units on the wrists and things. That's just Bal Red and Striking Scorpion Green for the buttons. And I think that's about it. So I got through them pretty quickly. I'm not as happy with how they turned out as the Plague Marine half of the starter box, but that is the entirety of the box done, and we have our first test game of Kill Team scheduled in. I think you'll still see this first. Yeah, you should probably still see this first. But there'll be a viewer verdict for Kill Team using the slightly scaled back version of the rules that are in the starter set that these two Kill Teams came from. It takes you through it like step by step, like imagine this person is attacking this person, roll these dice and then decide what happens based on the rolls. But then it ends with some full scenarios to try. So we're going to do that before we jump into the full experience, because the full experience is largely the same as Warcry, but a little bit of more complexity with strategic ploys and command points and that kind of, and firefight ploys. That complicates matters a little bit, and the 3 different ops that let you score points. So it knows that that's the most confusing part, so the starter box kind of eases you in by giving you like, here's a scenario to play, here are the very specific multiple ways you can score victory points, play it out using what you've learned, then move on to the full game, or try these variants. It actually offers up a few different mission variants, so we might end up doing a couple of those just to try and really cement the rules. And then it's like, okay, now you can incorporate the full rules and use the official approved ops cards that came in the Hivestorm box that give you the full experience. So I hope you're looking forward to that. I hope you give it a chance, but do bear with us if you're a long time player of Kill Team through all its versions. Just keep in mind we're starting simple and hopefully building up from there, and that'll be a new game that we can feature on the channel now that there's a bit more space in the schedule now that the Metal Gear Solid game is finished. Last but not least, from Marvel Crisis Protocol, and a model I previewed early on Blue Sky Gladiator, who was pretty fun, honestly, and I'm kind of happy with how he came out in terms of the paint job. Most of the colours I've talked about today I also used here. A lot of Bal Red, the Frostheart Blue for the lighter parts of his costume. His skin tone was Magus Purple, but that was a little too light for what I wanted, but I didn't want it Thanos Purple, so I just mixed in a tiny bit of Luxian Purple while it was still wet, and that kind of hit the middle ground between the two colours. So not quite Thanos Purple, but not as dull as Magus Purple is. So the same yellow I've been talking about for the trim on his Definitely Not Doctor Strange's cape reused for this model, and which is Iron Jaw's yellow. And for this is more Frostheart with a dry brushing of Grey Seer on top. The explosion is Grey Seer with a little bit of that same yellow just applied while the wash was damp on it. Lead Belcher Silver for the base, and non-oil on top. Fun model. He's been in a battle report already, but unfortunately just because of the way the battle report worked out, the view of him was mostly just his cape from like this angle, so you didn't really get to see him at his best, because he definitely looks coolest from the front. Like, I don't know if he has lightning powers, I don't think he does, so maybe this is just like exploding out, but it's a pretty cool action shot and not wobbly. Like, he is in there sturdy, which I appreciate. Like, he's got a contact point here obviously on the smoke, he's got a contact point there, and that kind of leans again, like it's not stuck against his cape, but it is against it, so it just helps anchor him down through multiple points here. So they've definitely been keeping that in mind ever since. The one mistake we always go back to, which is Storm. Storm wobbles on her base horribly because they didn't think through how to stick her to it. They learned their lesson, to be fair, and they've never done a model as bad as that for wobble. They've done a few where it could certainly have been better contact points wise to the base, but yeah, they learned their lesson. I just wish Night Models did similar things with the Batman game and everything they did wrong with that, but they seem determined to just run themselves into the ground. To jump back to a previous topic, I don't have much else to say about Gladiator. I feel like I probably waffled on enough. If you have any further questions, as I said at the top of the video, feel free to put them in the comments below. And that brings us to an end of another painting update. Next time, I have finally assembled the Asgardians I've had sitting for a long time, because I kind of want to get to the monsters like Dracula, etc., but I'm forcing myself to do the Asgardians first. Probably not the big Thor, since I like my third-party alternative sculpt a million times better that I've already used and painted up. But in terms of like the Loki, Mighty Thor, and Lady Sif, I'd like to get those done. Can't guarantee they'll all be in the next video, but I can guarantee that at least one of them will be, because it's in progress right now. You should also probably see a little bit of Fallout Wasteland Warfare. I'm doing a little bit of that. I'm working through a backlog of models and just trying to fit in some variety for myself and for you. And I'm not sure what else beyond that. You'll just have to wait and see. But if you'd like to show me what you've been painting, I'd happily see it. If you follow me on Blue Sky, just at me and I shall happily look at what you've been painting. If you're in the Discord group, you can drop in pictures. I don't mind, or link to your, wherever you post your pictures, that's fine with me. And if you need a link, check below the video, and they're in there. Thank you as always for listening to me ramble this long, if you did make it to the end, and I will see you in about 2 weeks for another update. Until then, ta-ta for now.